Hold on 1 second, Robert.
I have a question, and I really would like to be heard. I know we got 5 minutes. It's a really quick question. I really would like to be heard.
Yes, can you just hold on?
No. Let
second?
him, Mary. Let Mr. Kearns ask his question, and then we'll wrap up with Mr.
Okay.
Hammond.
Okay, thank you. On page 62 of the report, it states the following, quote, however, although unlikely, it is possible that recreational shellfishing may be allowed in the future. This statement is presumptive and espouses a racist and classist notion that the Fore River and Kings Cove will never be clean enough to shellfish from. Assuming the river's ongoing stormwater and sewage pollution will never be fixed and the river will never be clean enough to shellfish, erases any notion to clean up the beach and continues the legacy of the Fore River Basin as a sacrifice zone. And I'm respectfully request that you remove the language, quote, although unlikely, in that statement on page 62. It's really our intention to uphold the Clean Water Act, the MS4 permit, and clean up the water quality such that shellfishing in the Fore River will be safe one day. And that specific statement really bothers me as a resident and somebody who's lived in the Fore River Basin, grew up there. Additionally, how far has the arsenic in Kings Cove Conservation Area dispersed past the property line if you have not tested anywhere past the property line? Thank you.
So, Matt, Mr. Kearns mentioned that in his prior comment also. Can you please clarify the extent of the Phase 2 investigation that Algonquin is undertaking?
Yes, it went to the property line in
Right.
each direction completely. We assessed the entire property that we have access to. With respect to the question regarding arsenic, hold on 1 second. I guess, what is the question regarding arsenic?
The question was, why aren't you looking beyond the extent of the site as it's been defined for the same things that you're looking for on the site?
Jim, that's the brownfields exemption. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, well, the requirement that Enbridge bought essentially a contaminated property and they went into it with their eyes open. Under that situation, there's a brownfield exemption that allows that basically, and Jeff, you could probably phrase this better than I could, but gives a liability exemption to any off-site contamination that an innocent landowner purchases. So the requirement under the MCP for an innocent landowner, which Enbridge qualifies as somebody that bought a contaminated property and is trying to redevelop it for productive use, is that they need to evaluate the extent of contamination within the limits of their property, as long as it isn't migrating off-site in terms of contaminated groundwater or anything like that. So that's the limit of the liability to clean up the site that Enbridge has as an innocent landowner.
Thanks, Jim. Mr. Hanrahan, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but if you want to respond to the concern expressed about licensed site professionals evaluating